Okay, so last time we started solving two-step equations and we did these two problems. So today we're going to tackle a couple of different kinds of problems and then a word problem that's usually more of an application of what you might see with these. So remember, when we're solving equations, we have a number of steps, but we're really focused on that last step. Solve, you got to get the variable by itself. That's what that means, and use inverse operations to do that. And then what order do we do that? We want to think PEMDAS backwards, so SADMAP. So in this case, I have C divided by 5 plus 7 equals negative 15. And the first thing we want to do there is get rid of addition before we get rid of division. So I'm going to, step one here for me is to subtract 7 from both sides. I'll zoom in a little bit. So subtract 7 from both sides first. Again, try to draw your line so you stay organized. And then C divided by 5 comes down. This cancels out. Bring your equal sign straight down. And then negative 15 minus 7, or negative 15 plus a negative 7, however you want to think about that, is negative 22. All right, so now our last step here is we want to get rid of this divided by 5. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5. You want to think of this as 5 over 1 if you want, however you want to roll with that. But then multiply by 5, and again, if you want to put it over 1, that's fine. But really what you have is 5c here on the left, then 5c over 5. Equals negative 110. So 5 over 5 is just 1. So this is negative 110. So a lot of people on this might skip this step right here and just go right down to this step. Okay? So whatever you're most comfortable with and how you do that. If you go from here to here, that's fine. Okay. Let's try another one. And this one has fractions in it. So I put this in here on purpose just to kind of, you'll see that a lot of times, and sometimes this trips people up. So really when you're thinking about this, the process is the same. So don't get confused by the fractions. So really here we have 2/3 times y plus 3/4. So again, working SADMAP, I want to get rid of this addition first. So I'm going to subtract 3/4 from both sides of the equal sign. So to keep it balanced, we'd always got to do that on both sides. And write out that step so you don't get confused when we start doing harder problems. Okay, so now I want to work left to right, and I've got to do 7/12 minus 3/4. And if you're not great with that, that's okay. We're just going to type that into our calculator. So 7/12 minus 3/4, find your MCA calculator, and we're going to type that in. And again, just put it in parentheses, 7/12 minus, and then in parentheses 3/4, 3 divided by 4, close the parenthesis, hit enter. Okay, so now I get that, but that's not a fraction, and I want to keep it as a fraction. So you're going to go over the math button underneath that green alpha, and then just press enter twice. And it says negative 1/6. Okay, so now I'm just going to write negative 1/6 equals 2/3 y, and then these cancel out. All right, so now to get the y by itself, that's our whole point, we have to get rid of this 2/3. That's 2/3 times y, so we're going to go divided by 2/3. And again, we're using that fraction bar to write division. So divided by 2/3. So that looks like kind of weird because we have all these fractions in there. But really what we're going to be focusing on is this left side here and typing that in our calculator. So I have negative 1/6 divided by 2/3. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. Negative is on the bottom there. 1/6 divided by 2/3. And once again, we get a fraction. We're going to convert it. So math, enter a couple times, and you get negative 1/4. So I have negative 1/4 equals y. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. Let's move to a word problem. Okay. All right, it says a cookie jar starts off with 32 cookies in it, and each day 2 cookies are eaten. After how many days, D, will there be 14 cookies remaining in the jar? Okay, so you could do this manually, but if we want to use this start with equations, we're going to start by thinking about what we've got here. So it says we're starting with 32 cookies. Oops. Let's go to my pencil. There we go. 32 cookies. And each day, 2 cookies are being eaten. That means we're losing 2 cookies each day. So I'm going to go -2. Okay? So now 2 cookies per day we're losing, or each day. And this word right here, when you see each or per, it's kind of a tip that means multiplication. So it's 2 for every day that we do this. So if we did that for 3 days, we'd go 2 times 3, which would be 6 cookies we've lost. Okay, so it's 32 minus 2D. And then how many cookies are there currently? There's now 14 left. So here's our equation. And now we just want to solve this equation that you see here. So we want to start by saying, all right, what do I've got here? I've got this multiplication and I've got this subtraction. So I want to get rid of that 32 first. So it's a positive 32, so we're going to subtract 32 from both sides. That negative is with the 2, not with the 32. So these cancel out. And now when I write this, I want to make sure I bring that negative down with the 2D here. And then this right here is going to be -18. Okay, so now I've got -2 times D. So I want to do the opposite of that, and I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide by -2 on both sides. Okay, so then this cancels, and I get D equals 9. Okay, now if you made a mistake with your signs, you might have -9 here, and you go, well, that really wouldn't make sense. I can't have -9 days. So make sure your answer makes sense in the context of the problem. But then since the word problem, we're going to write 9 what, we want to write our units on here. In this case, it was D represented days. So we're going to say 9 days. After 9 days, there would be 14 cookies left. Okay, that's solving 2-step equations. I hope that makes sense. All right, we'll see you.